Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course, you good old boys from Africa, quit sending me the hate mails. Big C, they've been sending out UFOs coming out of Africa. Big C, even Trump's starting to believe in UFOs. Big C, I think they're trying to follow the Big C Sports Show. I also want to say we love you up in Canada, but there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys on December 20th, 2017, Big C?
Well, Charlton, it's been wet down here in the south. I was able to walk outside this afternoon and take a shower in my backyard because I knew no neighbors were home. But a little chilly, but, everything tightened up right, and I got clean.
Yeah, you good old boys are even using Mother Nature shower. That's the best kind of shower there is, Big C, when you don't have to pay the bill on it. I do want to say that so many things happening in the world of the universe, in the sports universe, and now because of the news coming out of the White House today, Big C, I'm going to buy an airplane with all those billions that I was saying. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I guess you could say in some ways it was a beautiful day for America. I mean, the rich got richer.
Yep.
They had this huge tax cut, Charlton, in corporate America. And I understand the meaning of the bill and all that. The president said it wouldn't benefit him, but it will save his family over the next decade $1 billion. So I guess it doesn't benefit him and his family at all. But you have to look at it, Charlton. There's tax cuts for the middle class, but it's only going to affect 8 out of 10 of Americans, Charlton, getting these tax cuts. So what's going to happen to those 2 out of 10 Americans that don't get a tax cut?
Yeah.
They get a tax increase.
Yeah.
Are they the left out, Charlton? Are they inconsidered, by Congress and all of that?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at this cut that was put forth, Charlton, the biggest thing was about them repealing Obamacare, which was tossed into this bill, Charlton. But also, they didn't resolve DACA. That was one of the things. They didn't resolve the Children Health Program, Charlton, in America for those families that can't get Medicaid, can't afford health care, from the private sector. So their children were relying on this, Charlton, to stay alive, not just to stay healthy, but to stay alive. So there's a lot of hidden agenda in this tax bill that America, when we talk about making America great, I never knew that America was ever in the doldrums or was a third world country.
No.
But you helped out the wealthy all over again because their tax breaks are permanent.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, they omitted when they did this bill, Charlton, and they didn't tell America that something that they should demand of corporate America is that if you're getting this 15% tax reduction across the board, that you need to compensate your employees at least 10% of that.
I know.
That's what that should be. I mean, you have to put it in writing, because if you don't put it in writing, they're not going to do it voluntarily.
No.
So all these Americans who think that this is a great bill, that it's going to create jobs, and your employee all of a sudden is going to come out and raise your wages 10 to 15%, a month, Charlton, that's not going to happen. Corporate America and the shareholders will get that increase. They're gonna toss a few dollars out, Charlton, to satisfy a few people.
Oh yeah.
But if Congress and the White House if they had tied 10% that you had to put back into your employees' wages, I could have understood the bill at that point. But Charlton, right now, I don't see it being a benefactor for America.
Well, I think a lot of people don't see it being a benefactor for America. But I tell you who gets a tax break for all the good old boys out there, and these guys are already philanthropists. Congratulations, Larry Ellison gets a tax break. Warren Buffett gets a tax break. Bill Gates gets a tax break. Mark Zuckerberg, he gets a tax break. Oprah Winfrey, they all get a tax break. And Big C, we know they need the money. So congratulations.
Every NFL owner gets a tax break.
All of them.
Already 501(c)(3). Every Major League Baseball owner gets a tax break.
Yeah.
Every NBA owner gets a tax break.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the wealthy, the billionaires, think about this, America. All the billionaires will get a tax break. They'll get a 15% tax break out there.
Yeah.
You're making $1 billion a year, which is having a hard time to survive on. Now they're going to give you another 15 million, to live off of.
Yeah. The shame, though, is I look at Paul Ryan, and I always thought he was a he was what they call that guy with Pinocchio, that guy with that long nose that kept growing every time he opened his mouth. Pinocchio. And I look at Ryan, and he said he hates to have any type of adding to the deficit, and then that good old boy comes right out and does about face and adds to the deficit over $1 trillion, and he's going to have his great grandkids pay for it, Big C. But like they say, this is why education is important, and the mind is a terrible thing to raise. Because even Mitch McConnell, you can't believe anything he says, but he says we've been trying for a year to get this through. And then Trump comes out and says we had to slip it in that we're going to eliminate the Affordable Care Act because we don't want smart people to try to vote against it, Big C. I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So, Big C, obviously, with the money that you're going to save, I know you're going to have more moonshine distilleries, and you're probably going to have a fleet of Cadillac Escalade sitting up there in that mansion you live in, that good old boys down south. But I know those good old boys from the Appalachian Mountains and the people that they call his base. His base cannot afford airplanes. His base is not going to hire people. His base is not going to add to people who are getting into the employment and creating jobs throughout the country. Give me your thoughts on what his base is. I think it's guys like Steve Bannon, and then that good old boy that neo-Nazi, all those guys that run for the separatist movement. Those are the guys with the money that he's made even more money. Big C, your thoughts?
If you look at his rallies that he's had, you see his base standing behind him with the T-shirts on.
Yeah.
This is the T-shirt and baseball cap crowd. That's his base. When we're looking at that. Now, I wonder how many of these people, Charlton, are going to be affected with this huge increase in tax revenue that they're going to receive. The larger paycheck.
Yep.
Then you think about they're saying they were unemployed, so how large is their paycheck going to be now? And you're cutting back on social programs.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in this. When everyone says, they cut taxes. Taxes fuel social programs. Taxes fuel the military.
Yeah.
Taxes fuel the infrastructure. Taxes fuel education. So by cutting taxes in America, Charlton, all of the programs that America relies on to keep America great are going to be cut. First and foremost, education, Charlton. Military spending is going to be cut. It has to be cut. Roads and highways, when we talk about those needing improvement after the wintertime and all the potholes, that funding is not going to be there. Those parents who have their children that are on food programs at school with the breakfast program, the lunch program, those are going to be cut. They're talking about, they haven't even approved DACA, Charlton.
No.
But first and foremost, they're sitting here talking about this huge tax program that they put forth. The government is set to shut down on Friday. They're not talking about funding the government. They're talking about cutting taxes for the wealthy, but they're not talking about funding government. So all of you government employees who sit out there and talk about, hey, what a great job this guy's doing. You may be unemployed come Saturday morning.
I still wonder if Mitch McConnell could pass a stress test. Because I went and got my checkup, Big C. The doctor say go get your checkups every year, and so I make sure I try to go down and get my checkup just because I want to be healthy. But my goodness, the first thing the lady said to me when I walked into the doctor's office, the first thing she said to me, she said, "Who's your insurance carrier?" and I pulled up my insurance card because I don't want to take for granted that I have one. But she said, "Who's your insurance carrier?" And so I pulled it out. But I know before I got my name called, Big C, there was a couple of other people in front of me, and they asked at least 2 of the 4 people that went before me, who is your insurance carrier? And some people were saying, well, we're under the Affordable Care Act. We have the Affordable Care Act. It's Obamacare. If they stripped that, those 2 out of 4 people that went to go see those doctors, they would have to say, well, we don't have one right now. We're waiting for Trump to come out with a better one. And for him to say, we're going to work on improving, we're going to tear this apart first, and we're going to make it hard for the states to participate in Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and we're going to work on a new one. Big C, when you trade in that Escalade down south, do you go out and walk home, or do you go get another one when you leave the dealership, Big C? How do you trade them in, Big C?
Well, Charlton, normally they drop it off at the house and take the one that's sitting in the house. It's not always in running condition.
Oh, okay.
When I get the new one. But, as you speak about the Affordable Care Act, in 2 references you can use.
Yeah.
It's like a player getting cut from a professional franchise, okay?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a guaranteed job.
No,
okay?
no.
He's waiting on the phone to ring, either him personally or his agent.
Yeah.
He's waiting on a phone call, hopefully that somebody will bring him in.
Yeah.
And depending on the time that they get cut, if it's at the end of training camp and the start of the season, Charlton, they most likely, at least 90% of them will not get a phone call.
Yeah.
That they'll have a new job coming along. And this is like, when we think about a lot of the people that were under the Affordable Care Act, Charlton, as well as, with this tax cut thing that they're talking about, we think about apartment dwellers or people that are renting homes, because all Americans don't own their homes.
Yep.
Think about it and say, okay, I'm moving at the end of the month and my lease is up, all right? And I haven't even gone out and sought out a new lease elsewhere. I don't even know where I'm going, but 2 days from now, they're going to take the key.
Yeah.
They're going to lock me out. I have no place to go. That's what's happening now, Charlton, when you talk about the elimination of the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
When you tell, okay, well, now we're going to have great options. You go out and shop. Okay, the Affordable Care Act allowed people to shop, Charlton. That's what it did.
Yeah.
It allowed people to shop. Now that when your premiums are going to double, and that's what's going to happen with the Affordable Care Act being gone.
Yeah.
Now the marketplace, you didn't put a mandate in that for insurance companies to limit what they could charge in market.
No.
You didn't. And you think about with this new tax code, so when you think about states like California, New Jersey, New York, some of the blue states with these higher tax brackets, Charlton, you're going to be killed tax-wise.
Yeah.
So when you think about the 2 most populated states in America are going to be crushed when it comes to taxes, Charlton, California and New York.
Yeah.
They have the highest population, highest income per capita.
Yeah.
But Charlton, they're going to be crushed economically in these 2 states. Yeah. And who's going to benefit from it? Not those states. So we're going to see a lot of people, Charlton, at ends with this going on.
Well, ironic, I heard Paul Ryan said when he was asked by one of the media representatives, how is this going to help the middle class, people that work 9 to 5, making between $25,000 and $50,000 a year? And Paul Ryan says, well, it's going to incentivize companies to stop doing their business overseas, where you can make a tennis shoe, for $2 a day, and come back to the United States where people want $20 an hour. I mean, how are they going to bring the companies that are profiting by paying people $2 a day to come back and pay someone $20 an hour plus health care benefits in the United States? Big C, I know I'm not the best at math, but I am pretty good at science, and I understand reason. But I just want to ask any person out there, if you're paying someone $2 a day for labor, how do you come back and have them come to the United States and now pay them $20 an hour? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. If they were billionaires, they could have already done that. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's called voodoo economics. Okay? We don't show you a little magic. The reason why these companies want to come back into America because we're giving them, think about it, we're giving tax incentives. As you just mentioned, and many people don't realize that, Charlton, that these shoes and cars and electronics are produced in other countries. You think about Maytag, the #1 washing machine company in America, Charlton. That's produced in Mexico. They're not produced here in the United States. But they can pay those workers down there $2.75 an hour. That same worker in America, you're going to have to pay $20 to $25 an hour, Charlton. So Maytag, they're going to get a tax break. But think about it. They're still only going to be paying $2.75 an hour. Because one of the things Americans need to understand, to come back in and modernize a plant takes billions of dollars. So all of those profits that you may have had are gone now because you have to build a new plant. So I got to put $1.5 billion, just like building a stadium now. I got to put $1.5 billion into putting in a plant. Now all of a sudden I got to raise wages. I got to go from paying $2.75 an hour to $25 an hour. So where's my profit even with a tax cut? It's not there. It doesn't make sense. Some companies will toss out a bonus, Charlton. And I guarantee you, probably the top 5 companies in America will pass out a $1,000 bonus to their top employees. Not every employee. Their top employees, okay? So they're going to say, well, they're giving back to those who are already on the upper echelon. That's like an athlete getting well, put it this way, that's like the friends who are coaching in the bowl championship series, Charlton. These guys are getting a bonus, aren't they? All these coaches in the bowl championship series are getting a bonus. So that's their tax break, Charlton. And so think about this. When their bonuses kick in next year, their taxes will be reduced on their bonuses also.
I mean, he did a good job screwing the poor over. Because a lot of people, they think this guy that lives in the castle and has airplanes and properties all over the country, if I can save him, a little bit of money on his tax returns, he's going to give me a job or give me a raise. And they're going to have to cut some Social Security benefits. We already know that. Medicare, they're already trying to tamper with that because they think 80 and 90-year-old people getting Medicare is stealing from the system. That's what they convince them good old boys who don't have any money in the first place, that the billionaire is going to start giving out money. I guess, we've heard about stories about that. But either way, like they say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But Paul Ryan, them knuckleheads up in Washington, D.C., they didn't drain the swamp, Big C. They started swimming in the swamp, but there are a lot of people who want to swim with them. I do want to touch on one more thing because...
let me touch one more thing before you go there, Charles.
Yeah.
Maybe with this little kickback and this increase in salary that all Americans are going to be getting, maybe they should invest in some Vaseline for us with Congress and presidents.
Yeah. And the Vaseline for the knees, Big C, is on the knees when they're praying in church. I do want to say we're going to see a lot of the sports teams. And you're going to see football, and you're going to see, basketball. There are a lot of guys wear the Nike uniform, and I know Phil Knight. Last I checked, those Nike shoes are not made in Portland, Oregon. I mean, I looked at all. But I looked at all the label. I think Nike's out of the Northwest, guys out of Portland, in the Portland area. And I bought a pair of Nike shoes just to try them on. And before I paid for them, I was looking to see if they're made in America, because that's what they tell us, only in America. That's when on the hat for Donald Trump, I couldn't find anywhere where any part of the Nike tennis shoe that was $150 was made in the United States. It was all made across seas, Big C.
Think about the president buying just think about his clothes. You gotta tell me which pair of shoes he had made in America. We're talking about the president, his footwear.
Yeah.
Let's look at the symbol on what his wife wears, okay?
Oh, don't even go there, Big Z.
I know she got those down at Saks Fifth Avenue in New York, okay?
I think she went to Walmart. Don't you think Walmart, Big Z?
I'll give her Macy's,
Okay.
I'll give her Macy's if she went there.
Okay.
So when the president is talking about buying in America, he has to look at his family first, Charlton. None of his kids, in these Brooks Brothers suits that they're walking around on this $2,500 to $3,500 a package.
Okay.
They're not made in America, okay? These are custom-made suits when they fly overseas. That they're getting. So, I mean, the president is so hypocritical about what he's talking about in making America great, making American jobs. Hire some American tailors, hire some American shoemakers. That's what you have to do.
You know what?
And also pay your bills in America when you hire American workers.
Well, they had a representative from South Carolina, the only black person that was there when he was making his speech to the United States, and also Ben Carson. Ben Carson, who's a neurosurgeon, he prayed. He said a prayer. I thought he went to school to be a neurosurgeon. Now they got him praying. They turned him into a pastor because they have no clout. They got to wait for God to approve something. But Donald can approve something with the stroke of his pen. They've talked one of the world's best neurosurgeons into becoming a preacher as opposed to a guy that uses his brain. And I just think that's part of reality right now. It's amazing what's going on in the world of politics. Big C, I do want to touch on sports because as people are trying to create jobs and create more money, I do want to add that. And I feel sometimes I'm kind of torn, but he don't need my opinion. When I look at Mr. Ball, LeVar Ball, that's trying to create a basketball league where players who don't want to go to college can actually play in his league, and he'll pay them up to $10,000 a year for the guys who don't want to go to college. Now, we know a college education is important, but let's be honest, a lot of guys aren't going to college anywhere. Do you think he's going to get some pushback from the NCAA that says, wait a minute, we're getting these guys for free. Who are you to come in and try to get them and pay them money? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, it's a double-edged sword when you look at that. Is that you're depriving these young men out. NBA, how many teams are there in the NBA? There's 30 teams, Charlton. Each one of these teams carry 15 players, okay? 15. There's 123 major college programs out there, Charlton, playing Division I basketball. Each one of them has 15 players on active roster, the 3 to 5 sitting around on red shirt or reserve, okay? That's not taking into account the European teams that have players drafted every year. So I have some questions about Ball's intent. I mean, you don't think that the NBA has looked at this for years, Charlton? You don't think the NBA has looked at this? I mean, this is why they have the G League, the D League, and all these semi-pro leagues, Charlton, and players go over to Europe and play. Okay, because there's only so many jobs. Now, you create another league. I mean, the NFL has seen all these naysayers come and go.
Yep.
They've seen the World Football League. They've seen the United States Football League. They've seen the XFL, Charlton.
Yeah.
All come in. And what has happened to all those leagues? There's an abundance of availability in players, Charlton.
Yeah.
But none of these leagues can sustain because what's the number one thing, Charlton?
Money.
Revenue.
Yeah, money.
Revenue. Where does the revenue come from? Television.
Yep.
You tell me when is the NBA going to say, hey, guys, we're going to let you have some money. Okay? They're not going to do that. Ball puts this league together.
Yeah.
And then he goes to whoever, TNT,
yeah,
ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN. All right? And what does the NBA do? Say, broadcast one game, you don't broadcast any of our games.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Very simple. This is the mathematics of business, Charlton. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with his intentions.
Yeah.
Even though his intentions about him making money. He's not in to make money for the kids.
Right, right.
If they're getting 10 grand a head, he's getting 10 grand for each one of them.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
In his own pocket.
Yeah.
So that's how you got to look at that. But also, Charlton, you divorce any of these kids of any opportunity of ever having any chance at an education in a public school.
Yeah.
Just like he did with his kids. He eliminated the opportunity of his children to seek further free education in America.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a selfish father.
Yeah,
Very
it is.
selfish.
Yeah, you know, Big C.
Took his scholarship away from him when he went to college.
No.
Even though he wasn't a great athlete.
Right.
But now he's telling his kids, no, education is not important in America. But if you don't make it in professional basketball, which you always hope that somebody will,
yep,
their chances just got 100% less when he pulled them out of college opportunities, Charles.
That's the thing we're talking about. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. We've seen many athletes in all different sports that had millions of dollars as they were playing in the athletic world, and within 5 years of retirement, the agents put them in the bad deals. They've had people scam them out of money. All their investments was bad. And then a lot of these guys end up selling their championship rings or whatever else they had because they did not have annuities. They did not have proper financial planning. And the worst message we want to send to people is to be ignorant and wealthy, because ignorance and wealthy is an oxymoron. You're not going to keep the money. So I hope that people, if that's your only option, people are going to do what they have to do to eat. We all know that. There's a lot of educated people that are walking around homeless because they run out of money or they got fired.
Everybody, think about this. We're in the NFL and the NBA season.
Yep.
The minimum a player can make on an NFL practice roster team, and each team, Charlton, carries at least 10 players. Okay?
Yeah.
$368,000 a year.
Wow.
Okay, during the football season. $368,000. How did he get that chance, Charlton? Because he went to college, all right?
Yep.
He went to college, and he was picked up by an NFL team.
Yep.
He didn't go right out of high school and go to some league that you're making $10,000 a month. Think about that. $10,000 a month. Oh, there is this little thing called taxes that you have to pay.
Yep.
You didn't talk about that. So that $10,000, Charlton, now all of a sudden is down to $7,000.
Yep.
Oh, dang, you got to pay rent.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
You got to pay rent.
Yep.
You got to buy gasoline. You got to pay some power bills, Charlton.
Yeah.
And knowing how these kids are nowadays, Charlton, they're not going to understand how to budget themselves.
No.
So that $10,000, which was down to $7,000, might be lucky enough to get them through the month because they're not going to want to go and stay in a medium apartment.
No.
They're going to want to go stay in some townhouse, penthouse downtown, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to want to do.
Yeah.
That money's very small, and it's only going to last through the season. How long is the season going to be? 3 months?
Probably so.
$30,000 to get them through the year.
Yeah.
Dang, I just forgot.
You know,
you have high school and you don't even have a college education.
Yeah.
Who the hell's going to hire you, Charlton, in the offseason?
Well, he just read that Donald Trump was going to pass his benefits for the billionaires. Some billionaires going to support the league. Big C, that's where he's going to get his money. But I think you brought up a very salient point, and I love when people just think for a second. Even if you see the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen in your life, she's the most gorgeous woman that you've ever seen. Sometimes you got to ask yourself, what's in it for me? You know, when someone flashes multi-million dollars in front of your eye, in fact, the ball's flashing $10,000 maximum. Okay, that's the max is $10,000 for about 3 or 4 months. That's the maximum. But you got to ask yourself, what's in it for me? When the pimp tells the prostitute, if you work for me, I'll make you rich. You got to ask yourself, what's in it for me? Because dumb people don't get into dumb business. We can all make mistakes, and we all have. But for any college kid or high school kid thinking, you know what? My friends say I'm a good basketball player, so I think I'm going to play in the NBA, and I don't even want to go to college. I'm just going to play for the ball league, and then some NBA team is going to pick me up. Without an education, just know you're going to be like that prostitute. You're going to get preyed on. You're going to get chewed up. You're going to get spit out. And no one wants that for someone they care about. So for all you fathers that think you're going to send your kids to play for the ball league, go through college first. If you don't make it in the NBA, then look at his league. But please don't try to usurp an education because someone's going to wave $10,000 in your face. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, let's look at Ball's business plan to start with, okay?
Yep.
I think your big ball of shoes mine's coming in the mail by now.
That's another rumor. That's a rumor.
That's his business plan, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody's got the memory of the big ball of shoes yet, okay? So
Yeah.
anybody who's going to take this to heart, what he's talking about, and think there's any legitimacy to that,
yeah.
if you can't deliver a damn pair of shoes, okay, how the hell are you going to deliver a basketball league?
Yeah. Hey, basically, those shoes were not mine, okay? It's just like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions taught me a lot about staying out of conflict. Just say I don't recall. When they asked Donald Trump, what's in that bill that you just passed? He says, I don't remember and I don't recall. And Big C, them good old boys in Congress and the Senate said yes anyway because they don't remember and they don't recall. Now, what are you going to do when you join Big Baller League and you lose all your money? They're going to ask you, who's your agent? You're just going to say, I don't recall because you're not going to know who he is. I hope that people understand that mind is a terrible thing to waste. We all got to read and get educated, at least to the best of our ability. But please stop preying on young black kids and young black boys who think they're going to skirt the college education that they get, and they're going to go play for some guy who's going to push $10,000 of cash in front of their face for 3 months, Big C. 3 months.
I went to Louisville and got that.
Yeah, that's a pay cut at Louisville. Some of them good old boys back in the Southeast Conference, Big C. And I know a lot of people, they just think, and because I work with basketball leagues in California, and it's kind of disheartening at times. You don't want to kill any person's dreams. But I do see some kids who have stars in their eyes, just like women going into Hollywood, thinking they're going to be the next Halle Berry, they're going to be the next Meryl Streep. There was a girl from that came out of Canada, and she got real famous. And Pam Anderson. Someone noticed her because she was good looking. But at the end of the day, where is she now? There's 100 women like that. Where are you now without an education? Someone's going to chew you up and spit you out when your looks fade, and they always fade, Big C. But your education will be with you a lifetime, Big C. We got to make sure that we keep pushing that. I do want to add on something, too, because this is important when we're talking about people who want to own sports teams. And I'm proud of the young diaspora of black people who are trying to become owners. And I look at what happened with Richardson and the Carolina Panthers. Now you have P. Diddy, who's made good money over his lifetime. You have Steph Curry, who's a championship basketball player, MVP player with the Golden State Warriors. Colin Kaepernick, and he's been ostracized by the league. And even I hear the great Ed DeBartolo, former owner of the 49ers, that are part of an investment group looking into buying the Carolina Panthers. I don't know if the league owners will try to block this move, but can you imagine right now we're at a day and time where we have black men with the clout to put together enough money to buy a professional franchise that they've always been ostracized from? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if the current state of ownership in the NFL are ready to make that move. I know when they let Shad Khan in, owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Charlton, that was a long stretch. But for the NFL to say that we're diverse enough to let an African-American owner in, the NBA has let Michael Jordan in, Derek Jeter has gotten into Major League Baseball, Charlton.
Yeah.
But for the NFL, the most elitist of the good old boy club in the history of professional sports, Charlton, that's a long one to go to. But, you also got to look at this in two stages.
Yeah.
The Carolina Panthers can opt out of their lease at the end of 2019. That's just 2 seasons away.
Oh, they can. Okay.
They can move that team out of that city. So I think it's imperative that whoever they're looking at as ownership is that they make a deal that team has to be put into that city for at least another decade after the new transition has taken place. So it would be great to see African Americans involved in the most elitist of professional leagues in America. It's time. P. Diddy can put together a group of people. He's a business mogul, Charlton. And the people that he runs, you run with people that are in the same class that you are, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, when you got money, money draws money.
Yeah.
That's why the president is giving all the rich guys a tax break.
Yep.
You know, they're his buddies.
They all got airplanes.
So,
yep.
And P. Diddy runs with a group of people, Charlton, that are in corporate America.
Yeah.
And to be a part of the NFL, I think that's everybody's dream, whether it's ownership, management, or a player, Charlton. That's every American's dream.
Yeah.
So to have this opportunity to even be in discussion, and I hope that the NFL's elitists do not close the door on this opportunity to give him every opportunity. Don't pull the Rooney Rule shenanigans.
Yeah.
Said, okay, we talked to him for an hour.
we shook his hand.
The guy that we were going to hire was sitting in the lobby while we gave him his hour.
Yeah.
You know, let's not do that. Let's put the offers on the table, see what's legitimate, and let the owners, and owners do vote, Charlton, on who's going to come in.
Yeah.
Vote on legitimacy, not just color.
Well, you know, a stupid side, I got my hair cut just the other day, Big C, in the barbershop. They were telling me, you know, all Petey's trying to do is stage up Jeter, because I think both of them jaded Dalo back in the day, Big C, and they both of them still trying to say who has the biggest chest or the biggest paycheck. You know how one time you buy an Escalade, then the next thing you know, your neighbor comes up with one, and the good old boy down the street, he comes up with one. Is he trying to keep up with the Joneses or the Jeters, Big C? That make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, this is a legitimate business.
Yeah.
It's not that he's keeping up with Jeter. We think about, you know, Jay-Z had part ownership in the Nets.
Yeah.
We talked about Jordan in Charlotte.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity where we've seen African Americans evolve in America, Charlton, the land of opportunity. They have taken their wealth. I mean, regardless of how they've gotten it, just like, I mean, who knows how legitimate all the money is that's come from other owners.
Amen to that.
They have told you things and stuff, but no one sit there, just like with Trump. No one's seen tax returns. All the dollars came from
he don't be calling me Falcon, Big C. That's all it is.
You know, the money's there. If the IRS hasn't put you in jail, then the money's legitimate. But, you know, at least you have to give this man the righteous chance to have ownership in a team. But when we talk about diversity in America, equal opportunity in America, and when we think about a league that's 80% African American, Charlton, it's only the right thing to do to put his name in the front of the list. And let other people come from behind if they're going to take it over. But don't put him in the middle of the road and say, well, the package wasn't strong enough, Charlton. If you own an NFL team, Charlton, you're a billionaire.
Oh,
okay? You think about Derek Jeter. You know, they built this stadium down in Miami for the Marlins, right? The city put $1.5 billion of city money into the stadium.
Wow.
And the Marlins franchise promised them that they would build a franchise, a team, build a winning team.
Yeah.
Yet Jeter comes in, he pays $10 million, Charlton, for this stadium.
Yeah.
He has $1 billion profit.
Yeah.
You know, he has $1 billion profit getting the organization.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And then you get rid of the highest parts of the payroll, so you make even more money.
Yeah. And then Trump comes in and says, Merry Christmas, too. I mean, a lot of things happen in the world of sports, and I'm just glad to see that you have this new diaspora, this nouveau riche wave of young black millionaires and billionaires that are starting to invest money as opposed to just buy things that are depreciating assets, like, stuff that you wear around your neck. Some guys got enough money around their neck, but no money in the bank. I just think that's crazy. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation for this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. You can call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, I want to bring up one more thing. You talked about Jeter, in his investment group that went down and bought the Miami franchise for Major League Baseball. Now we have an African American looking at getting into the NFL. As far as the NFL and the NBA and all the major league, the hockey leagues around the country, we know a lot of black Americans dominate boxing and dominate track and field, and definitely dominate the entertainment industry where it comes to music, performers, the rap, hip hop, all that, and then a lot in television also. What I think is happening right now is people are seeing what you can do when you do have an opportunity. Now, this opportunity was presented itself before Trump talked about this tax cut for billionaires, okay? It's about letting people in the door. And if Puppy Combs can do this and pull this off, I think that's the thing that people need to look at. He's not telling people to drop out of school and go play sports. He's getting together bright minds and people with money and people who understand the law to position himself to be an owner. Big C, is that the right way to go about it? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you look at it, we spoke about having opportunity in our program last night.
Yeah.
And that's what people seek is opportunity. Don't just give me something. Give me opportunity. Allow me to evolve.
Yeah.
And that's what Diddy has done over the years, Charlton, is that he has evolved. When you look at the business decisions that he has made over time, they've all been positive, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, Wall Street has gravitated to him, Charlton, made him a marketing mogul.
Yep.
You know, because he's attractive in that way for his business savvy.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's always come down, Charlton, to be stonewall when you look at African Americans having opportunity.
Yep.
African Americans can sit in any phase of America. We just had an African American president, so we've risen to the pinnacle.
Yeah.
But we've also been stonewalled, Charlton, throughout the decades in America from opportunity. You know, the major thing is always, it's not time yet. You know, we've heard that President Kennedy, one of his favorite sayings, it's not time to let African Americans vote.
Yeah.
You know, and so when is it time for anything to occur, Charlton? If you're an American citizen, and you know, you think about Trump's family, they didn't come from America. They're foreigners. They came into this country, and these are all the things that he's trying to block. Foreign immigration. That means that he needs to go and his wife needs to. They're not from American heritage.
No, they're not.
From European.
Good point. Good point.
So you have to look at that as whole. So if you don't give people opportunity, how does America ever advance? You just can't keep feeding those who have.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
You got to feed those that are up and coming to keep everybody strong. That way we have unilateral knowledge and strength.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you don't want to eliminate. When you think about sports, for decades, we heard that African-American quarterbacks weren't cerebral enough to dominate an NFL game.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, they took over the college landscape, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they started matriculating into the NFL, the signal caller position.
Yeah.
And what's ironic about it, Charlton, is that they have won Super Bowls. They have been to Super Bowls.
Yeah.
African-American quarterbacks, Charlton. But for years, they were saying that they weren't cerebral enough, Charlton. But when you look at the percentage of African-American starters in the NFL versus the percentage of white starters in the NFL.
Yeah.
Who has the best winning percentages, Charlton?
Yeah.
African-American quarterback. So you're going to say, well, it's not enough African-Americans. Yes, they are. They just don't get opportunities. They get moved to other positions.
Yeah.
I looked at Joe Webb a couple of weeks ago, Charlton, who played for Buffalo in the snowstorm when they played Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Joe Webb started out his career with the Minnesota Vikings. He played both quarterback and wide receiver, Charlton. Joe Webb moved on to the Carolina Panthers. He was on the roster when they were in the Super Bowl. He played for both quarterback and wide receiver. Now he's back, Charlton, with, you know, the Buffalo Bills playing quarterback. Joe Webb has been all over the ledger, but he just wants to play, so he's willing to play some receiver to stay on a roster, even though he's better than 80%, probably 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
Only to play quarterback, Charlton.
Yeah, and we've seen what you talked about so many times, Big C, and I'm so proud of everyone who's given an opportunity to go out and take it. You got to make it happen. Remember, most people don't think about you until you succeed. They don't see how a running back who rushes for 100 yards in a game, it takes him about 20 carries to get there. You get 5 yards here, you get 2 yards there, and then 15 yards, and then another 7 yards. People don't look at you until you cross the finish line in America, and I'm glad that all people are getting that opportunity. Big C, speaking of crossing the finish line, as we look at the world of college basketball, college sports, we talked about Ball trying to start his own sports league. Gino Auriemma reached 1,000 wins last night. We actually have been seeing how great a coach he was over the years because he makes people better. You know, a lot of the women that he coached, they go on to do better things in life. Just talk about what it means, not just for him. We talked about John Wooden, his impact on players. It wasn't about his money. It was about his impact on players. We talked about Dean Smith, his impact on players. Jerry Tarkanian, you know, Nolan Richardson. These people impacted players. You know, Bobby Knight. Talk about the impact that Auriemma has had with female athletes. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, the impact goes well beyond Charlton, the 1,000 wins. The 1,000 wins that he achieved last night probably is the smallest achievement of his coaching career when you think about the impact that he's had on the U.S. national team, playing in the Olympics and playing games. And you think about all the national championships that he's won, Charlton. His players have been Player of the Year in college basketball. They've been Player of the Year in the NBA. They've been Rookie of the Year in the NBA, Charlton. And that stems from what he has taught them, how to carry themselves, how to have high character, Charlton, to follow through with what they're taught. And so you don't see that backlash coming from the women's program like you do in the men's program. And you think about it, UConn, Charlton, the women's program outdraws the men's program and has done for most of the last past decade. So when you think about what Martin Luther King said years ago, Charlton, the content of their character. That's what Geno Auriemma represents, Charlton, the content of his character. Here's a man who came to this country as an immigrant, okay? Donald Trump wouldn't let him in now.
No, he wouldn't.
He came to this country as an immigrant with his mother as a young child. And you look at the heights that he's ascended to, Charlton, here in America because of the America letting foreigners in, Charlton. Think about it. Geno Auriemma is a success story. And he came in as an undocumented alien. But Trump is not talking about kicking him out of the DACA program, okay? He's not. So you have to look at the cross-reference of success in America and how people got here and what they've achieved since they've been here. Have they been solid citizens? Geno Auriemma has. And he has built many quality citizens, Charlton. A lot of his players have come from foreign countries that have participated in this program. And they've become American citizens, Charlton, and they've stayed here. But we don't hear about Trump trying to get rid of these players, Charlton, trying to kick them out. So you have to look at the content of what someone brings to the plate. How are they productive and assisting in American society? Geno Auriemma has laid the blueprint for that, Charlton, as a person, as a coach, as a mentor.
I tell you what, Big C, you said something that's a little bit chilling to me earlier when you said how many people, our country is built on immigrants. And the fact that we have this base, what is this base? What do you have to be to belong to this base that they keep talking about that does not want inclusion of anybody except for people who look like them when all of us came from a different continent, Big C? We all know that life came from the African continent way back in the day. I do want to touch on one more thing, too, about coaches. And I look at a guy that's, no matter what he does, he's loved and hated. When I look at Lane Kiffin, what he did with Florida International, and they had a 50-3 win over Akron in their bowl game down in I think it's called the Boca Raton Bowl, and I mean there's so many bowls I don't even know their names anymore. But just talk about why when you look at Auriemma, and we talked about John Wooden, we talked about if you look at someone like even the late Dean Smith, they did something to make life better for people that crossed their paths. It wasn't about how much money they made. What is it about Lane Kiffin that's taken a small program down in Florida? He's been with the Raiders. He's been with Tennessee. He's been with USC. He's been with Alabama. Why doesn't he get the same type of acclaim of some of the other great coaches that we've talked about? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Lane Kiffin's a different breed of cat is because he has not always spent forever in one place, and he's always sought out different opportunities. Think about his short time at USC as a head coach before moving on to the Raiders, and from the Raiders to the University of Tennessee. He was there, and the cup of coffee hadn't got cold before he left. He went to Alabama to help them win a national championship down there, and they haven't won one since he left, Charlton. But, here it is. Nobody rubs everybody the right way. Matter of fact, I don't want another man rubbing on my stomach to start with. Okay?
That's true. That's true.
When you start thinking about that, Charlton, who are you trying to please? And it always comes down to guys like us, the talk shows, who are talking about individuals, whether they're good or whether they're not good. But you have to look at Lane Kiffin's resume and his body of work where he's gone to. I mean, going down to the SEC and walking out of the SEC, that's something that coaches don't do, so that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. How can you walk away from an SEC power conference school? He said, I did, because I wanted to go. All right, I wanted to go elsewhere. And so no one said that to Nick Saban when he did it, when he walked away from LSU. Then he turned around and walked away from the Miami Dolphins. It's okay. It's okay for certain individuals to walk away. But, Lane Kiffin has laid out a solid resume. If you want to win, as a program, if you're a president, you're an AD, and you want your program to reach new heights offensively, you have to look at Lane Kiffin. I understand he signed this $10 million contract, Charlton, I think that was a facade for the university to be able to get money out of it.
Yeah.
Because they know that Lane Kiffin is not going to go anywhere. To retire in Boca Raton, Florida, I mean, the average age down there is 80 years old, okay? That's even the college students, okay?
I have to have a great social life, though, Big C. A great nightlife down in Boca Raton, Big C.
But he's not going to be there, Charles, for more than another year. I mean, he's laid the groundwork to go elsewhere. And when you think about the dollars that these schools are tossing around, Charleston, for these middle-of-the-road coaches, and you're going to tell me that the coaches that have gotten hired as of lately, that 50% of them, Charlton, are better than Lane Kiffin? I would say no, because I look at what he did with the offense at Alabama. Look at Alabama's offense this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
Their scoring production was way down.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin gone 1 year. That scoring production was down about 10 points per game.
Yeah.
So he made a major effect in that conference, Charlton, while he was there.
Yep.
And then when you look at his team now at Florida Atlantic, averaging 40 points a game, they average more points a game than Alabama did. So Lane, he's been wherever he's gone.
Yeah.
At these national championships,
yeah.
Lane Kiffin was offensive coordinator there also.
Yeah, that's a good point, Big C. We wish everybody well in the world of life, politics, and sports because it's all so competitive. I want to jump on to another sport, Big C, where I look at in the NFL, and I'm sure Jerry Jones is going to be celebrating that tax cut for billionaires, so he's probably calling Donald Trump right now to say, hey, how can we meet for a cup of coffee? And he says, I'll fly down there and meet you, like the good old boys with his base cannot do. He's going to fly down there and meet with Jerry Jones, or it might go the other way around. I want to talk about Ezekiel Elliott coming back. You know, his suspension's over, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys are still in the hunt for the playoffs. But you know what, Big C? They've even done okay without Ezekiel Elliott, but I think it's going to get a little bit easier. His first game against Seattle may not be the best because he's going to be a little bit rusty, but that Seattle defense was beaten up when they played against the Rams, and they're just not healthy. So this is a good game for him to get healthy against. But I just want to get your thoughts on Ezekiel Elliott. Is he going to help the Cowboys? Or is he going to hurt their momentum and disrupt what they've been building over the last couple of weeks without him? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about that Seattle defense that gave up 4 touchdowns to Todd Gurley and put him in that MVP talk after that outstanding performance he had last week against Seattle. Ezekiel Elliott's coming back, Charlton. He's going to have some fresh legs. Think about that. You get to this point in the NFL season, players are tired.
Yeah. Okay,
they've been beat up. They've been running up and down the field and banging on each other for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott had a 6-week vacation with a personal trainer and a dietitian. So he's raring to go, Charlton, running in the sand down in Cancun, Mexico.
Yeah. So
he's ready and he's hungry. You know, the thing that I found, Father, with the day, Charlton, was all the media asking him the same redundant questions over and over. What did you learn from this suspension? And if Ezekiel had been smart, he said, hell, I lost 6 paychecks. That's what I learned. You know, what did you get out of this? I got financially scrapped. Okay?
Yeah.
If he had put it the way it was, just like the dumb question they kept asking over and over. What did you learn? Not to do this anymore. Okay? To keep my life private, to stay out of the spotlight, to stay home. That's what I learned. But you know, they kept asking. They never asked him any football questions, Charlton. That was the most appalling part about it. Is that we don't have people that are interviewing that are media savvy, Charlton. They're just interviewers. They're tossing tabloid questions out there. They're trying to get sensationalism out of a player to say, hey, this event is over. This is no longer a part of my life. I'm a changed person. He told them that. But they were not satisfied with that answer, and they couldn't let that go, and he had to scrap the interview. It reminded me of Cam Newton after the Super Bowl. You know, well, how do you feel after losing a Super Bowl? You know, I feel great. I think I'm going to go to Denny's and have me some pancakes. You know, that's what they kept
He knew he was not going to Disneyland, that's for sure, after losing the Super Bowl. But with Ezekiel Elliott back, obviously, it's not going to hurt the Cowboys. And Seattle's fighting for their playoff lives, but they're just banged up. They have a lot of injured players on that defense. And you know, attrition can catch up. This team has been running at the top of the heap for about the last 5 seasons, and oftentimes it just catches up with you. They haven't traded away too many players on that defense. I'm more concerned about Russell Wilson than anybody else because he gets tackled as much as their running backs get tackled. Basically, the way the offensive line is just letting people, maybe they got too much of that fish grease from those fish markets up in Seattle. I love everything about their organization. I love everything about their stadium and that crowd, that 12th man. but when your guys are banged up, it's hard to come back. Big C, I want to touch on one more thing, too. In the NHL, congratulations to Nashville. They've been awarded the 24th franchise in Major League Soccer in the MLS. They were competing with Sacramento and a couple of other cities for a new Major League Soccer team. As a person in California that's very diverse, I don't know how diverse Nashville is, but I doubt if it's more diverse than California. In the capital region, about 37% are Spanish-speaking, Big C, and you have a great Spanish influence that goes out to the games and plays soccer all over the country, but especially in California. It's amazing that the MLS missed that huge population that they could draw on with Hispanics in the Central Valley to fill up stadiums. But congratulations to Memphis. I'm sure they'll enjoy it as well. Big C, the last segment we'll touch on. In the NBA, you have some great basketball being played right before the Christmas break. We have the Bulls going for their 7th straight win. We have the Rockets going for an incredible 15th straight win. And the Warriors are back at it again, going for their 10th straight win. And they don't even have Steph Curry in the lineup, still recovering from an ankle injury. Big C, your thoughts on the status of the NBA universe?
Well, the NBA is a season of streaks, Charlton, when you think about it. Here's the Bulls that have all of a sudden gotten healthy. People thought they were tanking, trying to get the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they reeled off 7 consecutive wins. The Warriors, people thought they would be in a little bit of hurt when Curry went out with that sprained ankle, Charlton. This is a team that, you can win without Curry, you can win without Durant, you can win without Green, you can win without Thompson, Charlton. Because the body of players that they have there is greater than the individual.
Yeah.
And Steve Kerr does a wonderful job in utilizing his bench along with the players that start the game. We think about the run that the Rockets have been put on this year, Charles.
Yeah.
And everyone looks at the Rockets as an offensive team because of Mike D'Antonio being the coach, and they know he likes to run a wide open style of offense. But that defense, Charlton, has just choked out opposing teams, Charlton, with the Rockets this year, is that they have some players, some young players that are just ball hawks.
Yeah.
And they hound the opposing offense up and down the floor, Charlton, and just wear them out. And when you think about James Harden leading the NBA in three-point shots, the team leading the league in three-pointers made on average per game, Charlton, 16. So that's putting them at a huge advantage, Charlton, over their opponents in that. They could be a true challenge this year in the Western Conference for the championship of the West, making it to the NBA title against the Warriors, Charlton.
Yeah, Big C, let me ask you, when we go back and we look at the basketball history in the basketball universe, I still remember, going for championships, it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson that made the NBA popular with the help of course, NBA basketball, because we used to watch playoff games. I think they used to come out at nighttime after the game was played. You have to wait up late and see the replay of the NBA, finals. And now we have NBA basketball almost every single night. In all the major cities, you can see some of the top players in the game. And, of course, with instant replay, you can always see them on, many of the sports shows at nighttime. But I want to ask you, with this push for a lot of the great teams that we talked about, they're all coming out of the Western Conference for the most part. But the Eastern Conference, for the first time, seems to be trying to make a comeback. When you look at Boston and their win streak, the way they had it going over just not earlier in the year, Big C, and now you have the Bulls with their win streak. Toronto's a good team. Washington's not the best team, but they're still up at the top of the Southeast Division. And then Cleveland's always strong. Detroit with the new arena, they're playing good basketball. I know we talk about what's going on out west, but I look at this kid, Antetokounmpo, and they want him to replace LeBron James. For Milwaukee, they haven't had a player like him since Kareem was up there in the name of Lou Alcindor. Talk about him. Is he enough in the names? You just brought up all the names of the Golden State. Is Antetokounmpo going to be someone that can challenge the great names of Larry Bird from the East, or Kevin McHale, or Michael Jordan, and guys of that nature? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, you have to put together some consistent years of work. And Giannis is a solid, up-and-coming young player.
Yeah.
But it's until you push your team into the playoffs, Charlton, will you be talked about as being one of the elitist players in the NBA. I mean, he reminds me of Anthony Davis to a degree. You think of Anthony Davis twirling down there in New Orleans, and same type of number statistically, where he's scoring about 23, 24 points a game, 8 or 9 rebounds, and couple blocks and assists a game, Charlton. The same type of player, same type of size. But just because you're scoring points, Charlton, doesn't always get your team to the next level. That's what you look at in greatness. When we look at LeBron, who's now in his 15th year in the league, Charlton, and we think about the greatness that he exudes, he makes players better around him.
Yeah.
He's not trying to make himself better because everybody knows his greatness. Is when you can make players better around you. You know, you look at Houston this year. They brought in Chris Paul. Chris Paul had always been thought of as a selfish player.
Yeah.
Chris Paul now, when he comes off the bench in Houston, they have a better scoring average than what the starters do.
Yeah.
With him coming off the bench because he's now accepted the role of making the players better around him, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you look at greatness and you'll take a step back and allow the others around you to evolve. We knew the dominant player Magic Johnson was when he was with the Lakers.
Oh, yeah.
But Magic got more ecstatic about assisting the players on his team, seeing them being productive than he did. We knew what he could do as a rookie when he went in and won the championship against the 76ers and would name the series MVP as a rookie.
Yeah.
He said, I've already captured all I can capture. Now it's about me making the rest of the team better.
Yeah.
We didn't see that from a Kobe Bryant trying to make his teammates better. He was trying to say, you guys got to be like me. He didn't say, I'm going to help make you better because I'm selfish.
Yeah.
Michael demanded from his teammates that they be better. Kareem helped his teammates be better all throughout his career. So when we look about the greatness, Isaiah Thomas of the Pistons, he helped the Pistons become better players. He would defer to other players on the Vinnie Johnson, Joe Dumars. He would let them score. He'd set them up. But this is what we haven't got to that point with Giannis yet. When Giannis gets to the point, Charlton, where he is always trying to make his teammates better. We had the diminutive Steve Nash.
Yeah.
Always making his teammates better when he was playing back then, Tony, in Phoenix. You know, great players throughout history of the game, Charlton, haven't made their teammates better. They've been all-stars. Take your friend Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Perennial all-star, but nobody's ever gotten better around Carmelo Anthony. You can say the same thing about last year's MVP, Michael Westbrook.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, yeah.
But his team, Russell Westbrook, his team did get better, or his teammates didn't, Charlton.
Yeah, it's always that too, Big C. It's about how you distribute the ball, and I hope that they can understand with Giannis. I hope they put more emphasis on if you want to be the next LeBron James. LeBron James does pass the ball around. He's a complete player, just like Magic Johnson was a complete player. I think Larry Bird was a complete player, but he wasn't a dribbler the way, Magic Johnson was and the way LeBron is. So Giannis has all the building in the world to be a great athlete, but just like Davis down in New Orleans, you gotta be able to make your team better. Same way DeMarcus Cousins. I thought those two would be dominant players, a lot like Hakeem Olajuwon back in the day when he had Ralph Sampson that played down in Houston. They ended up winning a championship. I don't see these young guys having that yet. They just don't have that chemistry that a lot of other players have from back in the day. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Banditti Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, what we're looking at is the continuation of the NFL coming up this week, Charlton. Who's going to be eliminated from the playoffs? It's going to be some hard-fought battles. We're going to see at least 2 teams eliminated this weekend from that playoff hunt. But football's always exciting, Charlton, and every weekend with football's a great American weekend.
Well, Big C, speaking of a great American weekend, make sure you participate in that trickle-down economics that you and them good old boys are going to do from Washington, D.C. Make sure you be like Santa Claus and spread the good cheer all throughout the land. I want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no woman should ever have to go through that garbage all on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.